Alright, so today's video is on hip flexors and training the hip more regularly and how to train it. So honestly, I think this is a part of the body that gets neglected in training. I think most people, when they think about training for hip flexors, they just think about like these really underwhelming exercises with like a pink mini band that you use. And honestly, I think most muscles, if they exist in the body, like a calf, like a hip flexor, then it deserves to be trained. Yes, it is a smaller muscle, but so is the bicep, and the bicep gets trained so much and with a lot of intensity by most people. So I think most stuff in your body needs to be trained with intensity. And honestly, if you think about the hip, if you think about the hip flexor, you know that it's involved in so many different things. If I think about sport, obviously your hip flexor, if you're running a lot, your hip flexor will be stressed a lot because running is a stressor because you have to pick up your leg. So obviously the hip flexor is very involved in that, but it goes so much further than that. If you're a kicker, you also have to use your hip flexors at really high velocities as well. If you are someone that has competes in a combat sport or a type of a contact sport, you know that you have to get really low for tackles or get into really low positions, and at the end of the day, that has a lot to do with your hips. So without further ado, here's a few exercises that I think you can add into your program, and just generally a few things that you may have to make sure you hit when it comes to your week, or maybe in a span of 10 days or 2 weeks, you make sure you cover these bases. So first of all, you'll definitely have to get some type of squat in your training, something that gets you to really use full range of motion. This is beneficial for your knees and your ankles as well, but also very good for your hip. I like to spend a lot of time in deeper range of motions, but I like to do some hip work in this range of motion and in this deeper setting position for your hips. Honestly, after this, my hips usually feel great, and also it gets you used to this type of thing. You also know that when you do some tackles in rugby, you have to get really low, and sometimes a lot of people are restricted by the hips. This is typically for that. So ways you
Yep.
can do this is to squat deep, use some type of deep squat position to challenge some ranges of motions, like you see in the video. And some other options might even be to do some crawls or animal flow type of stuff, more like your horse walks and your crab walks. These are really underrated for your hips. Secondly, I believe you need to train the hip flexor through a stretched and large range of motion. So a lot of people like to utilize this like just lifting your leg up straight and lifting it like over a kettlebell or whatever. The problem with this is that usually the hip is way more lengthened, and you're really training it with a really short range of motion if you're only training it like this. So an alternative to this is training like this. I don't know what this exercise is called, but I've been doing it for like 2 years. Really awesome exercise. A very important part of this exercise is that you do grab onto your one leg that is not working to get it as high as possible to force your other leg to be in a really lengthened position. You can do this in the form of a sit up, or you can do it in the form of a leg raise. Both are equally effective and tough. This has helped me a lot when I struggle with my hip flexor for kicking as well. Really helped to strengthen my hip flexor. The other thing would be adding a lot of reps and a lot of velocity to your training when it comes to hips and all those type of stuff. So there's a common saying that you can build the strength, but it's really sometimes really difficult to build structure. And what I mean by structure, I mean having the capability, having the structure in your body that is capable. So the hip flexor is the structure, and you want that structure to be strong and capable, and to be able to withstand a lot of volume. And with that, you need a lot of high reps, I believe. And for this, I like to do a lot of swings for high reps. So I do sometimes 50 reps per swing, and I do it with really fast paces. Sometimes I even maybe do it for really slower paces for maybe less reps, but it's still a high rep, so it's still above 15 repetitions. But I like to add some speed to them as well. Do them sideways, do them backwards, do them forwards. You can even do some internal and external rotation of the hip. And honestly, this is a great thing to add to your hip training, and it will just help build the structure. Usually, if you tick all those boxes, you'll probably be really fine and you'll be training really effectively. Obviously, you don't have to go and be arbitrary about the whole thing. You don't have to tick these things. Just every now and again, I make sure that I am training this and I am ticking some of these boxes within my training. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you benefited from it. And if you like this type of content, please subscribe.